Hey everybody, it's low carb and keto nutrition specialist Amy Berger from 2itnutrition.com bringing you, you know it, the one, the only keto without the crazy. I am recording a bunch of videos today in advance, so there is a chance that by the time this video is published, I'm going to have possibly an announcement for you related to cholesterol. If you are confused about cholesterol, wish somebody would talk to you about cholesterol and lipids in plain English, wish someone would help you make sense of what happens if you do a low carb or ketogenic diet and oh my gosh, that pesky cholesterol went up even though everything else your insulin went down, your blood glucose went down, your blood pressure went down, the migraine frequency went down, heartburn went to everything got better. So if we are in the time during which that is already a thing, I will put a link to it. Anyway, always look below for links. Today, I want to talk more about, I guess I could put this under the emotional eating umbrella, but it's really about the concept of valuing consistency over perfection. Consistency over perfection. And this is not my idea. I wish I could take credit for it. It's not my idea. I got it from Elizabeth Benton, who wrote a book called Chasing Cupcakes. Funny title, funny image, fabulous book. Highly recommend Chasing Cupcakes if you struggle with emotional eating or self-sabotage or mindset stuff in general. I've read this book twice now, which I think I've mentioned in previous videos. It's pretty rare for me to read a book more than once because there's so many books that I want to get to a first time that it's rare for me to take the time to read something twice. I've read this twice. It was worth it both times. I just think there's so much in here that has been helpful for me, and maybe it will be helpful for you too. And again, really far beyond food. This is about food, but it also is about so much more of stuff that you can help yourself with here. All right. The reason I'm saying that is because she has a podcast called Primal Potential, and I'm not in love with the more recent episodes, but I've been binge listening going way back, and I don't remember if the episode I heard this in was recent or older, but she introduced the concept of consistency over perfection. And let's talk about this with regard to sticking to a low carb or ketogenic diet, like actually doing it for some substantial length of time, not just 1 or 2 days and then you're off, and a day and you're off. And I'll also link below to other videos I've done about emotional eating or self-sabotage and kind of like, you know, how to get real, like getting real about your carbs and stuff like that. But the consistency over perfection, I think, is really helpful for those of you that are struggling to stick to low carb or keto, especially if you are somebody who knows that you really do have to be strict to get the results you want. Like, you are not one of these fortunate souls out there who can just kind of half ASS it or just kind of like, you know, cut their carbs a little bit and they start losing weight. Some of us have to be very strict. We don't have the wiggle room. We can't do the keto ice cream and the, you know, almond flour cookies and the coconut flour brownies and all that. So if you know that you're someone that really has to be strict and you are, for whatever reasons, having a difficult time being strict or being strict over a long period of time, I think learning about consistency versus perfection will be helpful for you. So let's say you have, she was using a scale of like 1 to 10, let's say, on a day, whatever your goals might be for the day. You want to exercise a certain way, do a certain thing, do a certain task that you've been, you know, you want to vacuum the house, or you want to stick to a keto diet, or you want to keep up with your finances, or run some errand you've been procrastinating, whatever. If you were to do all this stuff, like everything you set out to do in a day, habits, actions, activities, whatever, that's a 10. You knocked it out of the park. You hit every one of those things. A 0 is like you fell flat on your face. Nothing got done, not even one thing. And then, of course, there's all the 1 to 9 in between, the 0 to 10. So isn't it better to have, let's say it's a month, so 30 days. Isn't it better to have 30 days consistently above 6 or maybe even above 7, 8, or 9 than to have a 10 and a 10 and a 1 and a 9 and a 2 and a 10 and a 0 and a 10, a 10, a 2, a 1, a 0, a 4? Wouldn't you have been better off? Wouldn't you have gotten more accomplished? Wouldn't you feel better about yourself if you had 30 days of consistency, 6 or above, 7 or above? So maybe you never even hit 10. Maybe you were between 6 and 9 for 30 days. Maybe you never even had, sorry, that was my door shutting. Maybe you never even had a perfect day. But you didn't have any of the really awful, there were no 0s, no 1s, no 2s, not even any 3s. Everything, you were pretty darn good every day. You were never perfect, but you were also never completely in a disaster. That's consistency over perfection. And I like it for a couple of different reasons. And I'll talk about, well, let me talk about it in relation to food and keto, and then I'll talk about why I think it is so helpful. So with food and keto, let's say we're going to score, on a 0 to 10. And if you happen to be somebody that has to be really strict, if you have to be 20 grams total carbs a day or fewer, like is on I have the page 4 diet down below. If you do that, or if you follow the phase 1 food list in my book with Dr. Westman, End Your Carb Confusion, 20 total grams. Or let's say you have to be at 30 or 40. Whatever your cutoff is, if you're there, you did it, you stuck, you didn't eat anything that you know doesn't work for you. So maybe not only keeping under your own personal carb threshold, but sticking to whatever other parameters you have for yourself, that you know certain things work better than others. You stuck to that, it was great. That's a 10. Knocked it out of the park. The 0 is like face first in a mountain of sugar, face first in all the starch on the planet. And then there's everything in between. So wouldn't it, if you're not struggling with low carb or keto, if you're doing great, you never have a problem, and you're happy with the results, then you could still watch the rest of this video for fun and for education. But really, I'm trying to reach those of you that are like having trouble getting that consistency over time. Wouldn't it be better to have more days, like, okay, let me step back. Let's use 20 carbs as an example, 20 total. That's really, really strict. So but if you're having trouble doing that, you're having trouble being that strict, wouldn't you still be better off having 30 or 40 or 50 carbs, maybe even 60 carbs a day, every day, like bouncing between 20 and 60 carbs? Wouldn't you be better doing that rather than 20 carbs, 300 carbs, 20 carbs, 20 carbs, 150 carbs? Like, wouldn't it be better for you to rack up the momentum, build the momentum of consistency of some version of reduced carbs, some variation of low carb, even if it's not super strict keto, even if you know that you need to be strict to get the results you want, to get the weight off, or to get your blood sugar under control, or your blood pressure, even if you know that the amount of carbohydrate you're eating now is too much to get you those results, isn't it still better for you emotionally and psychologically to start building that momentum, get in the habit, establish the habit of following a low carb diet, establish the habit of just reducing the amount of carbohydrate you eat, even if you know that at some point you are going to have to tighten it up and go even lower. Like if you can't even stick to 50 or 60 grams of carbs, what makes you think you're gonna stick to 20? Why not give yourself the grace, give yourself the freedom to establish that pattern, establish the habit of eating a low-ish carb diet, and then you'll feel that much better about yourself. You will feel that much prouder and that much more empowered, that much more capable of going the next mile, going the next step. Maybe you're going to go from 50 carbs to 30, and then maybe you'll do that for a couple of weeks or months, and then you'll go to 20. But I just think building that momentum, seeing yourself, feeling yourself be successful, build that base of success, is so much more, I don't know, self-supporting, so much more motivating, so much more self-serving in a good way than constantly beating yourself up because every other day you're great. Every other day you're at 20 grams, you're at 10 grams. Every other day you're knocking it out of the park, but the days in between you're having 400 grams of carbs, right? So wouldn't it be better to build up, on that scale of 0 to 10, build up more days at 7, 8, 9, even if you never hit 10. Just better to be 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, 9 consistently than to be 0, 1, 2, than to be 2, 3, 4, or better to be 7, 8, 6, 7, 8, 9 all the time than again to be 10, 10, 2, 10, 9, 1, 8, 0. Because so many of us have this like just self-flagellating habit, beat ourselves up and punish ourselves because we think that if we can just make ourselves feel bad enough for failing, that will make us succeed. If I could just hate myself enough, then all of a sudden this will come together and I'll do well. If I could just punish myself enough, then all of a sudden I'll be able to do this. If I just keep hating on myself enough, like I haven't beat myself up quite enough to change my ways. No. Because how often has that worked? 0 times ever. Maybe it works for a day or two and then it is a massive failure. I don't have to tell you that. So think about, like, instead of, here's what I want you to think about. Instead of, you could celebrate being at a 6, 7, 8 or a 7, 8, 9 all the time. Celebrate that, encourage yourself, cheer yourself on, rather than beating yourself up and feeling like a failure because you didn't hit 10. Stop aiming for 10. How about that? Stop aiming for 10. If you aim for 10 and miss, you're gonna feel like a failure. If you aim for between 7 and 9 and you hit it, boy, does that feel good. Look at me knocking it out of my park because I only aimed for 8 and I hit 8 right on the nose. I told myself I just wanted to be above 7 every day this week, and I was. I was never at 10, but I was at 7, 8, or 9 every day this week. Go me! Pat myself on the back. Go me! I'm doing awesomely. I am learning how to do this consistently every day. I'm building the practice. I'm getting in the habit of being okay without some of my favorite high carb foods. And maybe it's working a little bit. Maybe I'm down a pound or 2 or 3. Maybe I'm seeing my blood sugar come down a little bit. Great, then it's working. If not, you know what? I haven't felt any different. Nothing is changing yet, but I know that I'm still eating a little bit too much carbohydrate. I know I'm gonna have to hunker down and tighten things up, but I'm so proud of myself for getting closer every day, every week, every month. Because looking back at this month, looking at my calendar with my X's on it, I don't have any 10 days. I didn't hit the perfection any day at all this month, but I didn't have any face plants into the cookies either. I didn't have any massive off-plan days or meals. I was consistently very good every day, even though I wasn't ever perfect. And I don't mean good or bad as a judgment call between the food, like, oh, I was good today, I didn't have carbs, I was good. That's not what I'm talking about. Like, oh, I was so bad, I had a French fry. I was like, no, that's talk that I never want to hear any of you say. When I mean good, I mean like, I did good. I guess I should say well. I did well. I intended to stay under 50 grams of carbs, and I did. I did really well. I wasn't perfect, but I did well. So it's a totally, like, the physical feeling of me even having those thoughts, and right now they're all hypothetical for me anyway, the physical feelings that accompany those thoughts are so different from the feelings that accompany failure and shame and self-loathing and beating oneself up. Again, I'm going to say it again because I just want to really emphasize the point. You could beat yourself up for falling short of the perfection, or you could celebrate and be proud of yourself and build yourself up for being pretty darn good, for hitting the mark, even if you set the mark a little bit lower. You have to start somewhere. If you are someone who is wildly inconsistent, if you are the person who's bouncing between 10 and 0 and 9 and 2 all the time, then not that you need Amy Berger's permission, but you have it. You have my permission to stop trying to be perfect. I think I did 1 or 2 videos on this. They don't have that in the title. I'll have to look and see what the titles were, and I'll post links to them. But it's okay to lower the bar. Don't lower it to like, oh, I'm gonna be at 150 grams of carbs, like that's fine. No, I'm not telling you to like be ridiculous here, but assuming you want to be on a low carb or ketogenic diet, just lower it just enough so that you lower it to a place where you could meet it. It might be rough, it might be hard, but you can do it. Don't put it so far out of reach that you're not even going to try, because every time you try, you fail anyway. It's okay, lower the bar so that you're meeting it consistently, building the momentum, feeling good about yourself, feeling empowered, feeling confident, feeling capable. Because once you establish feeling capable and feeling confident and knowing that you've got this, then it's really no big deal to cut the carbs another 10 grams a day or 5 grams a day even, or 20, wherever you need to go for your next step. It's just like I've mentioned in previous videos that I'm a musician. I play a clarinet and saxophone. I once had to tell one of my teachers many years ago, she was challenging me a little too much. She got an exercise book for me, the scale exercise and whatever. And it was, when you want to learn a skill and you want to get better, let's say you have a skill already, like playing an instrument, but you want to get better, you want to improve, you have to push yourself outside what you're already capable of. You have to learn something new. You have to challenge yourself. But if the challenge is if the chasm between where you are and where you want to go is too big, you're not going to make it. You are not going to make it. So what you have to do is decrease the size of that split. Make the chasm smaller. Now I can get there. Now I can scale that wall. And I had to tell her, listen, I think these are like a little too hard for me, I'll tell you, the reason they were too hard for me is because they were a little outside my reach. I felt really frustrated that I was doing so poorly at them, and it was so difficult for me to learn how to play these things. And I asked her, is there like an in-between book? Is there another exercise book that's maybe like one step down from this? And sure enough, we worked it out, no problem. But she didn't know unless I spoke up. Like, I could spend the next 6 months to a year feeling miserable and feeling like a terrible musician. I'm so bad at this, I suck at this. No, I was trying to push myself too far. Just like if 20 grams is not working for you, go to 40. See if life is a little bit easier there. I think probably professional athletes or weekend warriors, recreational athletes, anyone that's learning any kind of skill, to advance to the next, you can't skip 10 levels. You have to go to the next level, and then the next level from there, and the next level from there. If you try to just jump 8 levels up, it ain't gonna work. And it's kind of the same with low carb and keto if you are somebody that's having a hard time sticking to it. Because I do want to give some acknowledgement right now to the fact that sometimes people have a harder time with it because they're being too liberal. I'm not kidding you when I say it really makes a big difference when you go from something like 50 or 60 grams of carbs to 20 grams, or 80 grams of carbs to 20 or 10 grams. Not for everybody. Not everybody needs strict keto. You hear me say that all the time. Not everybody needs an ultra strict ketogenic diet. Some people can do 70, 80, 100 grams a day and remain lean, remain perfectly healthy. Everything's great. But speaking specifically, if you're having a hard time sticking to a very strict plan because you're still craving carbs, you're still craving sugar, you're still hungry, like you're having to fight your hunger all day, then I absolutely recommend do try to raise that bar. Don't lower the bar. Raise the bar. Be ultra strict for a couple of days, because there's a little bit of, I'm going to use the wrong word, I'm going to say the magical pixie keto dust that I sometimes talk about. Sometimes that magic only rains down when you are really strict, because some of us have to be that strict to get the metabolic switch. For us to burn more fat and be generating ketones, sometimes that's not going to happen at 30, 40, 50, 60 grams of carbs a day. Sometimes you really have to go low, but even though it's hard, you might have to white knuckle and resist and struggle for 2 or 3 days. You will be amazed at the end of those 2 or 3 days that all of a sudden you don't have to struggle. All of a sudden, one day you woke up and you're not hungry. You waited 3 or 4 or 5 hours before you even had your first meal of the day. And then you waited another 5 or 6 or 8 hours before you had your next meal. And you went the entire day, you didn't crave carbs at all. You were perfectly happy with your bacon and eggs and your steak and asparagus. You know, so I do think like those are two different schools of thought, neither of which is better than the other, neither of which is worse, neither of which is right or wrong. There's only what is going to work best for you. Not what works best for me, not that's a tongue twister, not what works best for any guru, doctor, whoever on the keto interwebs. There's what works best for you. For some of you, what's going to work best is lowering that bar, building the momentum, eating a little more carbs than you know is best for you, but you're going to build the practice, get in the habit of doing a low carb diet. Then you're going to hunker down. For some others among you, the best approach is going to be strict right away. Get all the carbs out, flip that metabolic switch, feel all the feels, get all the benefits, because just some people find that it's a lot easier. It seems like a paradox, but it's really not. It's easier to stick to keto when you are stricter, because it's only when you are strict, when you stop eating the keto ice cream and the keto brownies and cookies and treats and the this and the that, it's only when you get rid of all that that you actually finally stop craving it. You know, I've said before, and we wrote about it in End Your Carb Confusion, when you have a craving for, something off plan, eating it doesn't satisfy that little craving monster and make it go away. It's not like, oh, he got fed, he's gone. No, it's like a stray cat. You feed it, it's going to come back for more. Ooh, she let me have that keto brownie. I wonder if she'll do that again today. And I wonder if she'll do it again tomorrow. The beast never gets satisfied and goes away. You have to starve the beast. You have to teach the beast that it's not getting fed, so it might as well take a hike. It might as well go somewhere else because it ain't getting fed here. So that's why I do think there is a place to be ultra strict, because you very well may find that that's actually easier for you to stick to. It's easier for you to have a 9 or a 10 every day than it is to have a 6, a 7, But again, there's no right or wrong. There's what works for you. Thank you, Elizabeth Benton, author of Chasing Cupcakes, for teaching me and through me teaching you about the consistency over perfection. I think it's dynamite, and her podcast is Primal Potential. If you want to check it out, I have no relationship with her whatsoever. I've never met her. She doesn't know me from a hole in the wall. There's I don't get any money. If you buy the book, if you buy the book, then I have an Amazon affiliate and I make a penny or something if you were to buy the book. But I have no affiliate relationship with her. I don't get if you download her podcast, there's nothing in it for me. I'm telling you about it because it's been really helpful for me personally. And people have asked me to talk more about these kinds of things. You already know what to eat and what not to eat. You don't need another food list. We all need to figure out why we're having such a hard time doing the things we already know we should do. So I recommend, if you want to check out her podcast, I just go through a lot of the older episodes. I mean, the new episodes are good too, but she's got gold. There's just golden content in the older stuff as well. So you know, go way back. And that's it. I hope if our cholesterol thing is ready by now, you'll just find a link. But as always, there's so many links to the videos I've mentioned anyway. And thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.